Dad called my brother the smart one, and gave him the company and $50 million. Then a woman stood up and changed everything. I still get chills when I think about that moment. Imagine sitting in a room where your entire life's worth, your family legacy, your years of loyalty and sacrifice are about to be divided. And then your father, the man who raised you, the man you've spent your whole life trying to make proud, looks you straight in the eye, smiles kindly, and says, "You'll understand, son, your brother was always the smart one." Tell me, what would you have done in that moment? Would you have smiled and accepted it? Or would you have snapped like I did? Because that day when my dad said those words, something inside me broke. I'm the second son in our family, the quieter one, the so-called steady hand, as my mom used to say. My older brother, Daniel, was the golden child. From the moment we were little, he was the one everyone bragged about. Straight A's captain of the debate team, early admission to an Ivy League school, you name it, and me. I was the one fixing the car in the driveway, running the errands, keeping the peace when Dad's temper flared. But no one applauded that, not once. Dad used to ruffle Daniel's hair and say, "That's my boy. He's going to take this family to the top." He'd glance at me after, almost like an afterthought, and add, "And you'll keep things running smooth, right?" I used to nod and smile, but deep down, I wondered if that's all I was meant to be, the background to my brother's spotlight. As we grew up, that pattern only deepened. Daniel went into business with Dad straight after college. I stayed back, finished my degree locally, and joined the company a couple years later, starting from the bottom because I didn't want to seem like I was taking shortcuts. I worked my way through departments, logistics, operations, marketing, learning every corner of the family company. I was the one staying late, handling crises, dealing with suppliers who threatened to walk. And when Dad had his heart surgery 5 years ago, I was the one sitting in the hospital every single day, taking calls from clients while making sure he got his meds on time. Daniel visited maybe twice, but even then Dad would say, "Daniel's busy keeping the business afloat." When Dad started talking about succession, I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd see the truth. That I had been the one holding things together all these years, that I wasn't just the other son. I didn't want everything. I just wanted to be seen as an equal, but I should have known better. The day of the announcement, the entire family was gathered in his office. My parents, Daniel, me, our lawyer, and Dad's long-time assistant, Linda. The air was thick with anticipation. Dad stood up, frail but proud, and said, "I've decided to step back. It's time to pass the torch." I remember my palms sweating as I glanced at Daniel, who already looked like he knew what was coming. Then Dad said it with that same warm smile that used to make me feel safe when I was little. "Daniel, you've always been the smart one. You'll take over the company, the accounts, the assets. Everything. You'll make me proud." Then he turned to me, patted my shoulder, and said, "And you, son, I know you'll support him. I've arranged a trust for you, $2 million to get you started on your own path. $2 million. For someone else, that might sound like a dream. But when your brother just got handed $50 million and the entire family empire, it feels like a consolation prize, like being told you're worth 4% of the person standing next to you. My heart sank. My mom looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Daniel grinned, walked over to hug me, and whispered, "Don't take it personally, bro." I could barely breathe. Years of loyalty, sacrifice, and effort, dismissed with a pat on the back. I didn't explode that day. I just stood there, numb, pretending to smile while everything inside me screamed. The days that followed were a blur. Daniel moved into Dad's office, started making big changes, and slowly pushed me out of decision-making roles. He'd ask for my input, then do the exact opposite. Staff who used to come to me started reporting directly to him. It was humiliating. One night I went home and told my wife, Sarah, maybe I should just quit. She looked at me like I was insane. "You built half of that company," she said. "You bled for it. Don't you dare walk away." But I was tired of fighting a battle I could never win. Then came the night that changed everything. Dad decided to hold a formal signing ceremony for the transfer of ownership. Lawyers, family, investors, everyone was invited. The event was held in our company's main boardroom, this sleek glass room overlooking the city skyline. It was supposed to be a celebration, but to me it felt like a funeral, the burial of everything I'd worked for. I sat quietly in the corner, watching as Dad and Daniel signed papers, smiling for the photographers. I remember thinking, this is it. This is the moment I disappear from my own family story. And then, right when the final document was being signed, a woman stood up. Her name was Linda, Dad's assistant of over 20 years. Everyone turned to look at her. She looked pale but determined. "Mr. Thompson," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "before you sign that last paper, I think there's something everyone here should know." The room went silent. Dad frowned. "Linda, what's the meaning of this?" She took a deep breath and said, "Sir, I've kept quiet for too long, but I can't let this happen without telling the truth." My heart started racing. The truth about what? Linda pulled out a folder and placed it on the table. "These," she said, "are copies of financial transfers and internal emails from Daniel's private accounts to offshore holdings. For the past 4 years, he's been funneling company money into personal ventures and hiding it under dummy corporations." The entire room froze. Daniel's face went white. "That's absurd," he shouted. But Linda wasn't done. "It's not absurd. I was the one who handled the transfers under his orders. At first, I thought it was part of company strategy. But then I realized he was stealing millions of dollars, sir." "From your own company." Dad's hands started shaking. He looked at Daniel, who was sweating bullets, his voice cracking as he tried to defend himself. "Dad, she's lying. She's just trying to ruin me because I fired her last month." But Linda shook her head. "You fired me because I caught you, and I've already sent copies of these documents to the company's auditors." The lawyer beside Dad looked stunned. "Mr. Thompson, these allegations are serious. We might need to halt the signing immediately." So that's the situation I was in, standing there, watching my brother's empire crumble in real time, watching my father's world fall apart. And I had to make a choice. Before I tell you what I did next, I want you to pause and really think. If you were me, and the brother who got everything was suddenly exposed as a thief, would you step in to help him? Or would you let him burn for what he did, because in that moment I had both options right in front of me? I took a deep breath and stepped forward. Everyone turned to me. Daniel's eyes pleaded silently. For the first time he looked small, scared. Dad looked broken, confused, betrayed. I could have stayed silent. I could have let the company implode and walked away rich from the ashes. But instead I said, "Dad, let the auditors handle this, but don't sign anything tonight. And as of now, I'll take charge of operations temporarily." Dad didn't say a word. He just nodded weakly. The meeting was adjourned. Over the next few weeks, investigations confirmed everything Linda said. Daniel had siphoned nearly $12 million into his personal accounts. He'd been using company funds to buy properties, cars, even pay for his girlfriend's boutique. When the evidence became undeniable, he broke down and confessed. Dad was devastated. I thought he was the smart one. He whispered to me one night. I thought he was the future. I didn't know what to say. For the first time in my life, I saw him not as my father, but as a man who realized he'd chosen wrong. The board voted to remove Daniel from his position immediately. Legal action followed, and he eventually took a plea deal to avoid prison. The company was in chaos, but I stepped up. Not out of revenge, but because I couldn't let my father's legacy die like that. For months I worked day and night, rebuilding trust, repairing contracts, meeting clients face to face. Slowly we started to recover, and something strange happened. People began to see me differently. Staff who once bypassed me now came to me for guidance. Clients started calling me directly, and my dad. One day he walked into my office, sat down quietly, and said, "I was wrong, son. You were the smart one all along." I don't think I've ever cried harder in my life. Not because I needed validation, but because those words, simple as they were, healed something in me I didn't even know was still bleeding. As for Linda, Dad promoted her to head of operations, and she's been my right hand ever since. When the dust settled, Dad revised his will. This time there was no favoritism, everything was split evenly between us. Daniel moved away after the scandal. We don't talk much, but every so often he sends a text saying he's trying to rebuild his life. I wish him well, honestly. I don't hate him anymore. Looking back, I realize something. Life has a way of revealing the truth, no matter how long it hides in the shadows. For years I thought I was invisible, that being the quiet one meant I didn't matter. But when everything fell apart, it wasn't the loudest or the flashiest who saved the family. It was the one who stayed, who cared, who worked silently behind the scenes. So maybe being the smart one isn't about brilliance or charisma, maybe it's about integrity. If you've ever been overlooked, underestimated, or told you're less than, remember this. The truth has a way of finding its way to the surface. And when it does, it can change everything, like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more real life stories like this. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if you were me? Would you have stepped in to save your brother, or let him face the full weight of his choices? I'll see you all in the next story.